Today I'm going to tell you all about reflexive verbs in German. Reflexive verbs are best thought of as things that you do to yourself. Let's have a look at some examples in German. Sich waschen, to wash oneself. Sich duschen, to shower oneself. Sich amüsieren, to enjoy oneself. Sich langweilen, to be or to get bored. Sich entspannen, to relax. Sich informieren, to inform oneself. Sich schminken, to make oneself up, or we would say to put makeup on. Sich interessieren, für, to interest oneself in. Sich entscheiden, to decide. Now, in order to start using reflexive verbs, you have to know which are the reflexive pronouns that go with each pronoun. So we have here the pronouns, and we have here the reflexive pronouns. You can see here at the top it says nominative and accusative. This is because the subject will always be in the nominative. So you're either using a pronoun or you are replacing the pronoun with a name. For example, Mark, Mark and I, Mark and Susie. And the reflexive pronoun is going to be placed after the verb. Let's show you how that is done. Well, firstly, before you can even formulate your reflexive verb, it's important that you remember what endings go with which verb. Most of the time when you're using reflexive verbs, you're going to find it extremely uncomplicated, and you'll simply be able to add the regular verb endings to the end of your reflexive verb. And here they are. So your reflexive verb should take regular verb endings in the present tense. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. Okay, as usual with a regular verb, you take off the en, so you remove the en and you are left with the stem of the verb. In this case it is interessieren. You choose your pronoun. So the pronoun I'm going to choose is ich. And then onto the end of interessieren, I have to add the correct ending, which of course is e. And then I have to add the correct reflexive pronoun. So the reflexive pronoun in this case is indeed mich. Okay, and in this particular instance, I have to use für. I am interested in is für in German. Okay, let's take the second example of sich duschen. And the pronoun I'm going to use this time is she. So again, I need to remove the en ending. I'm left with my stem, dusch. I'm going to put sie, dusch. I need to select my correct ending, which in this case is going to be T. And then I need to look in the grid over here, and the reflexive pronoun for she is sich. So I say sie duscht sich. Sie duscht sich. Okay. We'll do one more example using duschen, sich duschen. I want to say that Mark and Anna shower themselves. So we write Mark und Anna. And this time, onto the end, because we are using the equivalent of they, sie, the verb will end with en. And then we are back over to the grid and we look for they, and we can see that the reflexive pronoun we need is indeed sich. Mark und Anna duschen sich. This grid gives a summary of the endings and of the reflexive pronouns. So if you want to say he showers himself, you simply use er, take the word shower, douche, add the T, and sich. if you wanted to say we inform ourselves about the news, we would say wir informieren uns über die Nachrichten. Just going to show you these two verbs. Entscheiden, if we look at the stem, it is entscheide. It's fine for I decide for myself. Ich entscheide mich. But because it ends with a D, we have to put in an extra E before the ending when it has a T ending. Waschen, of course, is a stem change verb. So we have to use that in the same way we would other stem change verbs. So for the do and the and z forms of the verb, okay, the stem is going to be wäsch. Okay, and then to conjugate the verb properly, it's going to be du wäschst dich. Umlaut on properly. Du wäschst dich. And or sie or es wäscht sich. Okay. Dative reflexive pronouns. Very occasionally, the pronouns that you need to use, or reflexive pronouns you need to use, will be dative reflexive pronouns. And to be honest, there aren't that many of them, so they are best just learnt. So, to wash one's hair, sich die Haare waschen, und sich die Zähne putzen, to clean one's teeth, are two very common ones. Okay, it works like this. In order to say, I wash my hair, you would have to say, ich wasche mir die Haare. Okay? He washes his hair. Well, we've already learnt that's a stem change verb. It's going to be wäscht sich die Haare. There is no change on the sich, but of course there is a change here when you are using mir. Equally, you clean your teeth. It's going to be du putzt, and then because it's du, it's dir die Zähne. However, if I'm using a different pronoun, so for example, sie over here, they clean their teeth, would be sie putzen sich die Zähne. So there is no change in the reflexive pronoun here. So to summarise, reflexive verbs have to have reflexive pronouns. We are talking about these verbs being where you are doing something to yourself, you are informing yourself, you are deciding for yourself, you are washing yourself, showering yourself. I guess you could say that the reflexive pronouns here are almost the equivalent of English of myself, yourself, hisself, herself, itself, ourselves, yourself and their selves. Okay, so that's what the reflexive pronoun is. So, as we have looked at, it isn't particularly difficult. You just have to learn which reflexive pronouns go with which pronouns. Okay, let's take sich informieren there, and you want to say he informs himself. You would say then you look at the ending, informiert sich. So you take it down to its stem, remove the en at the end, and you add the correct ending. They inform themselves, sie informieren sich. And of course you mustn't forget that very occasionally, for example, to wash one's hair and to clean one's teeth, you will be required to use the dative reflexive pronoun when you are using ich or du. And that's it. Tschüss und viel Glück!